Hello and welcome everyone to the Wednesday, April 24th edition of the Biweekly Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience meeting. A reminder that we do operate under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. We usually offer an opportunity here for new folks to introduce themselves. In the comms team, at least, we have adopted a process where everyone optionally introduces themselves. So we don't call on people because it's totally optional. But let's go ahead and do a round of introductions if folks are up for introducing themselves. And I will start. I'm Caslin Fields, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the SIG ContribEx, Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience, if folks aren't familiar. I'm also a co-lead of the Contributor Comms subproject. And my pronouns are she. Anyone else would like to go?
Hi, I'm Noah Abrahams. I'm one of many people who's been here for a very long time, and I lead the non-code contributor project, among many other things. My pronoun is he.
Would anyone else like to do introductions today?
Okay, I'm Josh Burkus. I've been around for. Oh, hey, Princess, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Princess, and I'm one of the contributors to the docs. So I'm part of the SIG docs, and I'll be leading the docs team for version 1.31. Yeah. I attend these meetings once in a while, so I'm not exactly a new member, but hi, everyone.
Welcome. Happy to have you.
I'm Josh Burkus. I've been around ContribEx as long as there's been a ContribEx, so and do various things.
Truth. Would anyone else like to do introductions?
I could go next. Hey everyone, my name is Arvind. I'm a developer and student from India. I've done a few contributions to Kubernetes, not much. I'm a new contributor here, so excited to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else? I'll leave that open for a moment.
I think I can go next.
Go ahead.
Hello everyone. My name is Nitesh and I have been contributing to Kubernetes for a while now. I was a Linux Foundation mentee with the Kubernetes last year, and I have been inactive for quite a while due to job hunting, but now I think it's all done and I'm back to contributing to ContribEx again. Yeah.
Welcome back.
I can go next. I'm Xander. I've been around for a little while. I was the Kubernetes 1.27 release lead, and then recently co-led the contributor summit in at KubeCon Europe this last time around. Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. I think we'll go on ahead and move into the agenda then. If anyone does want to speak up and introduce themselves at any point, feel free. We're pretty chill here. One other thing before we dive into things. Would anyone like to volunteer as note taker today?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Noah. Awesome. Right. I have one item that I wanted to talk about as kind of an announcement, open mic thing, which we usually do at the end. But I wanted to go ahead and mention it here at the beginning because it's kind of relevant to everything else. the leads of SIG ContribEx are currently working on the annual report. This is down at the bottom. Yeah, you can also put it at the top. That works. Yeah, so SIG ContribEx co-chairs and tech leads are working on answering the annual report questions, which are things about the work that our SIG has been doing over the last year. So as part of that, we are kind of reviewing what our sub-projects are currently, and we want to assign leads to our sub-projects, which I think basically amounts to putting people's names in sigs.yaml as owners of the sub-projects. So if you are an active owner of sorts, but not in no official capacity of a sub-project, forewarning that we will probably be reaching out to you to kind of solidify that and how your sub-project is doing. And we'll also be reviewing how sub-projects are doing, if they're active. If you need help, please go ahead and mention that today as we go through our sub-projects. And before we do dive into all of our different sub-projects and their updates, Noah, your non-code contributors project is not listed anywhere currently as an official sub-project, and we were discussing making it one. It sounds like you're probably in favor of that. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's been in debate whether or not it would be a sub-project on its own, or if it should go under the contributor documentation, contributor guide site.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we could make
So
it
we'll
an official
discuss that
project.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We can have deeper discussion about that. Maybe I'll add it as an open mic discussion thing to talk more about it in this meeting if we want to. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Cool. So any questions about annual report and us reviewing sub-projects and trying to assign leads where applicable? If not, we'll dive into the individual sub-project updates and we can, I'm sure, discuss it more there. Cool. Let's dive into individual sub-project updates then. First one is events. So I believe there was already a second, what are we calling it? A retro for the Contributor Summit in EU, which I missed both of them and I'm very sorry about that, but I would love to hear about how they went.
It was good. I think, yeah, I appreciate everyone that added notes to the retro document. We did make it through the full document in 2 sections. The one follow-up, or the main follow-up that we have from those sessions, is the ask for all of the role leads to update their various handbooks, which we had set a informal deadline for 2 weeks from the part 2 retro, which occurred last week. So within the next week, hoping to see all of the various handbooks updated with basically just items that were missed through the process last time. You know, add those to the handbook. Hopefully we won't see those missed again. And then there were a few items on that are more on the CNCF side, and we did have Janelle at the part 2 retro, so she has acknowledged those items that fall on CNCF, and we'll follow up on those on their side.
Okay. So as far as I know, we don't yet have a lead for Salt Lake City, do we?
Not that
Exactly
I know
the
of.
question on my mind.
I think I recall, Noah, if I recall, you had kind of informally offered to take that role. Am I completely imagining that, or
I
is
am
that
not planning to
possible?
be at Salt Lake City.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem that I think a lot of people are
Mhm.
hitting a wall, and for other various reasons will not planning to be at Salt Lake City, and therefore finding a lead may be a little more difficult for this one.
Yeah. Okay, we need to put that out. I mean, I'm available as a fallback, but I'd rather give somebody else the opportunity.
Likewise, I've never been a lead of a contributor summit, but I'm also happy to be a
Right, gonna say,
fallback
do you
there.
want to be the lead of a contributor summit?
Not particularly.
Okay. Yeah, I was planning to just volunteer for the awards, but the
we had discussed that we need to sit down possibly in a comms meeting and figure out how we can get that announcement out the best.
Yeah.
But we failed to do that last week.
Yeah. This is the group that kind of, supervises that. So we need to because we need to actually start planning what we're going to do for Salt Lake City, particularly because Salt Lake City has some complications that other contributor summits don't have. So we should figure out who else was supporting leads for either the last two ones for either Paris or Chicago. So
Arnaud and Xander were the last leads.
Yeah. But
I
presumably
will
there
be
were
in Salt Lake
shadows.
City, but I am not.
We need to
gonna
rotate
lead
off.
again.
Yeah, no, you need to
No.
rotate off. Let's look at who are shadows.
We didn't have shadows. We had executive backup is what we had.
Okay. Which doesn't really help, but did we have shadows for Chicago?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look at the list of people. We'll want to settle this before our next bi-weekly meeting, because we really should be planning it already. So look for stuff on Slack.
Cool.
And we'll see if we can get a candidate and put a team together, and also get an idea of, because the thing is getting an idea of like how many people will be in Salt Lake City. Are we looking at a smaller contributor summit? Because we might be.
Indeed. Sounds good. I put a note in the document that we need to talk with the comms team about maybe putting out some notifications that we are interested in help with leading the contributor summit. We'll see what we can dig up, and we'll have that settled within the next couple of weeks. Any other questions, comments about contributor summits or other events, which I don't think there are any. One other thing on contributor summits, we do have both Hong Kong and India this year as well. So we probably need to start those planning cycles. China is usually a smaller one, and it's more managed locally. India will be brand new, so we need to think about how we're going to run those and what the timelines need.
My understanding for India is that CNCF was planning to pilot their new like maintainer summit concept there. So just we should sync with them about what their plans are there, so we can figure out what the planning is going to look like from our end there. If going forward for that event onward, we're just going to be planning content for the Kubernetes track, or what that's
I'm not. I would push back on that personally, particularly for India, where we have a huge contributor community.
Yeah.
I mean, even if nobody flew in international, which some people will, we would have enough people for a good contributor summit.
Oh, certainly.
Just among our Indian contributors, including quite a number of people who've worked contributor summits elsewhere. So I'm not that worried about leadership. But I do think we need to bug. I would like to bug CNCF and say, hey, we realize you're doing this maintainer summit, but we would actually, Kubernetes would actually like to have its own thing, its own, room or whatever. Although, first let's convene with all of our Indian folks, some of whom are on the call, who have worked, who are potential contributors, summit leadership, and make sure that's what they want to do.
I like the idea. We probably need to figure out a timeline on that too. Like we have a deadline of
Yeah.
figuring out a lead for Salt Lake City within the next 2 weeks. We probably need to set some dates to figure these questions out.
Yeah, we'll want to move soon on the Indian thing, because if they are planning that maintainer summit, they might be thinking, oh, they're just going to have a Kubernetes track, with sessions and that sort of thing. And if we want to have an actual Kubernetes contributor summit, then we're going to need to push them on allocating space for us.
So we need to talk with the CNCF about this soon. That is the first step. All right, noted. We'll discuss that more later on Slack, I'm sure. Any other questions, comments about contributor summits? If there are, feel free to let us know. We'll move along. So mentoring. We have already written down for the annual report that is one area where we're, of course, going to put in a help wanted. If nothing else there, would you like to give some color to the status of the sub-project, Josh, since you've been kind of the de facto lead there for entirely too long, probably?
Sorry, for which sub-project?
Mentoring.
Oh, it kind of fell to me. No, I don't have any news on it. I've been on the road for over a month, so I have no idea what's going on.
It desperately needs new leadership is the status
Yeah.
there, right? Basically.
Yeah, I mean, it really needs somebody who is only working on mentoring. Currently, to be involved, so that they can focus on it a little bit better than I can. Let's see, we do have, another LFX going. We've got a couple of projects in Google Summer Code. Beyond that, I don't know what's happened in the last month.
Sounds good. Is there anywhere that we can see which projects we have in which programs?
Yeah, hold on. This will actually be in the CNCF mentoring stuff. Because because LFX is run by the Linux Foundation, and Google Summer of Code we go into with the CNCF.
Okay.
So
Nitish put a link to the GitHub repo in the chat. Thank you, Nitish.
Looks like Gateway API has a project. So
cool.
Is that the only one?
Well, that's Google Summer Code.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one from Kubernetes. And Okay, and I would have to dig a little bit more through LFX to see what's in there, if anything.
Cool. So that's maybe something that we should do regularly that theoretically a lead would do.
Yeah. The yeah, and like one of the areas that we could use help for mentoring that would be more of a task oriented thing if people have a little help is just to keep on top of reminding SIG leads, et cetera, of the schedules for these programs. I mean, one of the things that was bad for the last term is both LFX and Google Summer Code had about the same deadlines, and those deadlines overlap pretty heavily with KubeCon Paris. So yeah, it's Google's season of docs. And the CNCF participates in that. I don't know if we have anything from Kubernetes docs. I do know that we don't have anything with Outreachy currently. That Outreachy is something I'll take on if somebody else doesn't do it by fall. But I can't really do it before fall.
Okay, so Outreachy. Make sure is underway by fall. Cool. Austin helped with notes there. All right. That is a good overview for now. So Josh, we might reach out to you more as we do sub-project stuff. We had a couple of ideas about people to maybe reach out to try to help there. At least one idea I had.
Yes, I am ready and happy to tell things where people are so they can take them over, because it's been an understaffed sub-project for some time. Since we lost Marty, basically.
Excellent. We'll see what we can do there. Yeah, that has needed some work for a while. These need to be tamped. There we go. Nope, that was wrong. There we go. Yes. All right. Any other questions, comments about mentoring? Oh, actually, wasn't there one other thing? There was like a mentoring cohort going on with a SIG a while ago. That was a thing. Am I misremembering that, Josh? Oh, I didn't.
Oh, is SIG doing mentoring cohort? I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, I've been gone for a month.
But I mean,
so I don't actually know.
like within the last year.
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's been 2 SIGs
For
have
annual
done
report
cohorts.
purposes.
Yeah, 2 SIGs have done cohorts. I would actually have to look at who it was.
Is there a good place to find that info?
I mean, hopefully the SIG's own reports. SIG etcd actually did their own mentoring program, which is ongoing, which is being run a little bit differently than our standard mentoring cohort. But yeah, I guess that would also potentially go in an annual report. Although as ContribEx, we didn't really help with it. I mean, I personally helped with it, but I was wearing my etcd hat at the time, because we actually started before etcd got accepted back as a SIG. Yeah, I don't remember where the cohorts were. I'd have to look. I mean, we've had it in this meeting notes.
Yeah.
And we've had it on Kubernetes dev. So those are the places
Okay.
I've gone. Yeah.
I'm scrolling back through the notes. I'm back to August and I don't see anything yet.
Yeah. Maybe an adventure to try and figure out. We can figure it out on Slack though. So we'll discuss that more later. Any other questions, comments about mentoring? Nitish also mentioned in the chat that there was a SIG release LFX project in 2023. So we should probably try to find which external projects we've done in the last year or two and mention that in the annual report. So we'll
I think the
have to
SIG
explore.
release date was for OBS, as far as I remember.
Was for what?
It was for open build services platform. So they required to build a library and then an OBS CLI too, as far as I remember.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll just have to look into how many of those there were and see if we can add that into the report. All right. Let's go ahead then and move on to our next sub project, which is comms. So in the comms world, the biggest and most exciting and slightly terrifying thing that we're working on is getting access to the Kubernetes IO account on Twitter. So I think that the CNCF has given Bob at least the credentials, but we're working on exactly how the CNCF is going to maintain their access to it. We're working on defining the rules and the process. So the comms team should have access and start posting on the Kubernetes IO account on Twitter very soon. That is a mainly end user audience. It has over 300,000 followers, I think, when I last checked. So this is a big kind of change for the group, as our main focus has been contributing or communicating with contributors. And in the last couple of months, we picked up our LinkedIn page. So that does also kind of have an end user audience. So we've started to pick up some of that planning there. But this will be a huge end user venue that we will have for communications. So working that out with the CNCF, hopefully we will start posting things there soon. There hasn't been anything that went out on that account about the release or anything, so we'll probably do some catch up once we get access to it. Anything else that folks want to call out from comms? We do have a couple of other members here, at least one other member. Anything else folks want to call out, or any questions or comments for comms? Cool. We're chugging along and we do our regular weekly meetings. So anytime anyone wants to pop in, you're welcome. Right. And our blog processes are going really well, and we have a lot of folks working on blogs right now. So I'll call that out as a great win as well. We had a few folks join in from KubeCon and various venues where we have talked about the comms team recently. So
Oh, good. Do we have any additional editors for contributor blog?
not that I'm aware of. Actually, Tim Bannister joined in our call last week.
Okay.
But he didn't have anything specific to talk about. It would be good to add some. We do have a process going on right now. We have a blogging lead who does a lot of reviewing our blog posts before they get to Tim and the other folks who review the blog in general. So like we have our own blog review processes, and our blogging lead is currently in a process of gathering shadows and making sure that he's training a few folks to take on those types of roles.
Who's that?
That is Frederico.
Okay. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yep.
The
Frederico. What is Frederico's last name? I don't know.
Munoz.
Yes, that sounds right. He is our blogging lead, and he does an incredible job with it, and is trying to train some new folks. He's been working on some docs around how we do our blogging lead role, and has some plans for how he will actively train folks in how to do the job. Very exciting. We'll be reviewing our leadership roles and shadows and things, especially as we conduct the annual report stuff. Will be a good reminder to work on all of that. Any other questions, comments about comms? I love that we get so many new folks in that group. Always exciting to see new folks joining in and taking on usually blogs. Oh, actually, I'm slow today. I keep thinking of things after I think I'm done. One other thing that we're currently working on is a blog um, about the project finances. So there is uh, like a regular report that gets posted in one of the Slack channels about how we're trending on our usage of our credits for the project. So we were going to interview the person who does that, and I can't remember their name right now. But we're going to interview them and do a blog post about the finances of the project and how that works and kind of SIG Kate's infra stuff. So we're excited about that, in addition to several other SIG Spotlight blogs that are ongoing. Yeah, we may also do a separate SIG Kate's infra general spotlight, but we're doing that specific thing. So I wanted to call that out. Cool. Feel like there might have been one or two other things from that meeting that I was supposed to mention, but we'll leave that for now. Do let me know if you have any questions or comments about comms. Let's move on to contributor documentation. Any updates there from anyone? Contributor guide, contributor site stuff? Actually, I'll mention for the contributor site, we do have a couple of contributors, 2 or 3, maybe 4, who have been looking into the contributor site stuff recently. We keep having that working session at contributor summits, which we did again in EU, and we made a bit of progress, and we have a couple of folks who have continued working on it after the contributor summit. So we do have some ongoing work on the contributor site. Some progress is being made. It's been very slow progress. If you know folks who are interested in Hugo and Doxy and website stuff, do send them our way. We'll probably mention that in the help wanted section of the report. Any other contributor documentation notes?
Yeah, if we're still stuck on the Doxy upgrade, we may be able to ask the CNCF for help with that.
That's a good point. I'll check where they are on that if I can. I need a reminder. You write that down real quick. Contrib site. Help. Okay. Thank you for that suggestion. That is probably something that we should look into if we are super stuck there. I think we're making some progress, but we'll see if it's enough to to not do that. We'll see. Anything else on contributor documentation? Very good. We will move forward. Anything on moderation and media?
Yeah, the latest batch of YouTube videos are up. I'm working on a couple of things right now. I need to fix the date formatter and then make the videos get posted to public automatically. In a conversation with Bob, it was suggested that it become the SIG leads and tech leads roles to add the YouTube videos to the playlists if we wanted to sort of eliminate the manual process and just have to, dial in when something goes wrong. But I also know that Mario was working on a solution that would inject some JavaScript into the Zapier Zap to automatically add the playlist, but that work has been paused right now. And then Kazan, I don't know if you want to talk about moving YouTube under comms.
Yeah, so as part of the annual report stuff, this moderation and media section doesn't directly align with how we have our sub projects laid out in our GitHub repo. So we've been having some discussion over where should these things live? Are there ways that we can combine them into a single sub project or into other existing sub projects in ways that make sense that might be beneficial to that work? So with YouTube in particular, as Nigel was saying, there's been a lot of work recently on the automation, and we're hoping that that workload will reduce. And so maybe won't need as much constant attention as it has thus far. So we were thinking it might be useful to roll it into comms because a lot of the automation work has also a lot of the automation in YouTube is also shared kind of by comms. We use Zapier to do a lot of our social media stuff as well. So we've been working closely together. Our members of comms have been working closely together on that automation work. So going forward, if a lot of that work is about that automation, it might make sense to roll that into comms. There's also some discussion that's been going on about Slack moderation, stuff like that. So still kind of in the works, still in discussion, but we might move YouTube into comms. We might merge all of these into a single sub project. Something there.
The workload only goes down as much as the SIGs are onboarded to the new automation, and there's still some SIGs that aren't. So the manual process will exist until everyone is onboarded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is SIG etcd onboarded?
No,
Okay. Well, I'll follow up on that.
I mean their videos aren't on the Kubernetes YouTube to my understanding.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
That's-
see their videos.
Yeah, I know, and they should be, but they weren't part of Kubernetes for a long time. So the yeah, okay.
Yeah, the main ones right now that are not that I see regularly are SIG network, SIG testing. Maybe I can just pull up YouTube real quick and look. Videos. Yeah, network and testing are the most consistent ones that I see. Auto scaling is on, LTS is on, Docs is on, ContribEx is on, obviously. SIG release is not, but their videos get published automatically. So I don't know if we want to change what they're doing because the title still has to be updated. See, Kate's Infra is on network. Yeah, so mostly network and testing. Docs is on. Yeah, network testing and release are the ones that I see regularly that are not onboarded.
Do let us know if you need some help reaching out to those SIGs, pushing them to I guess chat with you is the main process.
Yeah, there's a doc that I started working on that I send them for like sort of prep your channel because we need uniformity in the way the videos are titled. But yeah, I don't know how actively we want to move these folks over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would definitely be good to that doc that you were working on if we could get that in a repo. Because say that we do get folks moved over onto this process, and then the work of YouTube management slows down a little bit because the SIG leads are taking care of publishing to the playlists or something like that. Then if we get a couple years down the road and we have a new SIG that needs to be rolled into this process, we need some documentation to make sure that that knowledge has continued, that we can do that.
Yeah, so I can. This is the doc as it stands. So
Great.
essentially just going through and changing the names of the meetings. And then ping me after that.
Yeah. And as we figure out what we're going to do with these groups, how we're going to reflect them going forward in our sub project structure, we could maybe do some work with documenting a bunch of stuff. Maybe comms could help you with that.
Sure, I welcome help.
Yeah.
I'm actually not working right now. I'm just kind of popping in here and there to do stuff. I'm on medical leave, so yeah, I'm not doing much work.
Thank you for popping in to tell
Oh,
us about it.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope you recover swiftly.
Thanks.
All right. Let me active document for migration procedures. I'm gonna put that in the notes. Try to work with comms on more docs. Yeah. Because we want to help you not have to do as much work there. Thank you. Any questions, comments for moderation and media? All right. Thank you very much, Nigel, for the updates. We'll chat more on Slack. And
Yeah,
please do feel
thanks.
better soon.
Cheers. Bye, y'all.
Yep. See ya. All right. Next item, GitHub management. Does anyone here have any updates on GitHub management? I talked with Priyanka and Madhav this week about that. There were a bunch of stuff that they wanted to highlight in the annual report. And there was some discussion, especially over our Slack infrastructure, over whether that should be rolled into some GitHub subproject. We were discussing also maybe even splitting out the GitHub management project into 2 projects because there's so much work that's been going on there. So we'll see what we end up deciding there. So there's definitely some discussion going on about GitHub management, the subproject, and how we organize the work. But as far as the work goes, things are moving along smoothly, it sounded like. I don't know of anything in particular to call out. Does anyone else have anything? Cool. We did recently conduct that audit of GitHub org membership. That was the most recent big thing. So we'll put more details about that in the annual report. And there are also more details about that in our talk from KubeCon. Ooh, next item is elections. Josh, this is another one where we're wondering how we should represent leadership of the election subproject in the annual report.
Yeah, and it hasn't been active for a while because it only really gets active in the months leading up to an election.
It's timely.
Theoretically it should be active year round because like we should be working on Electo and other things. But the nobody's been on it who wasn't triple booked on other things. Yeah, so actually probably what I should be doing very soon is seeing who's available to help. Because particularly like in addition to still needing some work on Electo, and Kendall actually offered to help a little bit with the testing situation. Or no, not Kendall. Okay, I'm blanking. Anyway,
There was someone who offered to help.
There was an offer of help with the testing situation, but from people who were as involved with KubeCon Paris as I was. So the we also will need to select this year's election officers. At least 2 of the election officers last year did commit to serving again. So we'll go through that, right? Because basically the jobs of the sub-project are to continue working on election software, et cetera. Also make it available to any SIGs that want to do their own elections. And second, to pick the election officers. So let me see, because a lot of people who signed up for the election sub-project, I know are not going to still be active. So I know there's me and the other Noah, because he rotated off because he served on the election committee like 3 times, or officer 3 times. And so he's rotated off. I'll have to see whether or not anybody else is still available. Otherwise, if we have anybody from ContribEx who's interested in elections and ideally knows some Python programming, so they can do double roles, that would be awesome.
So for the help wanted for the annual report, we'll probably do something similar to mentoring in terms of it probably needs a dedicated lead, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, call me out. Yeah, call me out in the document and I'll fill out the text.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh. Josh in report. So
it's actually more. I can still do the election sub-project, but I would like, because of what it does, it would be good to have a co-lead, and preferably a co-lead who is not somebody that I'm personally working on 3 other projects with. Because, you know, like, even though Noah has a different employer from me, we also do LWKD together and we do other things together. And if somebody was inclined to see collusion, it wouldn't look very good.
All right. So need for a dedicated lead, preferably with Python experience. And as for listing a current lead in the sigs.yaml, probably be you.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll do that for mentoring as well, since you are the de facto lead there, but that one's more, we really wish.
Oh, you put me in as lead pro tab, right? You know, that's what we do for these things.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because if somebody wants to take over, they're going to reach out to me, right? So.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, I put a note in there about that. Very good. All right, any other questions about elections? I think there was a code of conduct election and a steering election in the last year, right? We were thinking about highlighting those in the annual report.
Yes. Yeah, and the code of conduct elections actually moved over to Electo.
Okay, so that was
as far as I know, in the last year, those are the only people to use the election system.
Okay.
Because just most SIGs don't actually do elections, right? They don't have multiple competing candidates to be SIG chair. That would be a lovely thing to have, but it doesn't. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The
COCC and steering.
Mm-hmm. And I need to look again about how they're ordering that these days, because they decided to change up how that happens.
All right.
Which, you know, we'll have to implement somehow this year. So.
For the code of conduct or for the steering?
For both, because the 2 happen in sequence, and I think we're now doing code of conduct first. But I'm not sure. I need to look again what the decision was, because there was a change last year.
I know the last year we had code of conduct run first because there was some interesting conversations around people running in both elections.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an ongoing problem, right? Because people decide that they want to serve the greater Kubernetes community, and so they are interested in both of those. But whichever order we do it in, it's a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
understandable. But it's better than doing them at the same time. Either way. All right, we have 5 minutes left. Any other last questions about elections? Cool. So in open mic discussion, I mentioned the annual report thing again here, but it's also at the top. Noah, do you want to talk about non-code contribution work at all?
Uh, yes, but
Always, but
yes, but the project is we've officially labeled it an initiative because it's been difficult to classify where it should sit. It's got tendrils into ContribEx. It's got tendrils into tag contributor strategy, and it's working with some other folks as well that are outside the CNCF.
yeah, we were saying
It,
it feels like it should be a CNCF tag level thing.
it, I honestly don't know where it belongs. It just sort of exists in a nebulous space, which is kind of on brand for the work that we're doing anyway, which is very difficult to nail down. We didn't pick an easy task here. So, frankly, I'll put it to the rest of the SIG. If we wanted to make this a sub-project so that it had some place to associate, I'm fine with that. If we didn't and wanted to just leave it in a nebulous state where it lives partly under contributor documentation, but also not, I'm fine with that as well.
Do you have a mission statement of the project
We do have a
written
mission
down
statement
anywhere?
somewhere. We do.
Cool. Send that to me.
Okay.
Maybe from that we can debate that and see if that makes sense as a sub-project. If we turn you into a sub-project, then you'll need that mission. We'll probably create you like a GitHub repo where you can put some documentation about what the project is. We'll need to assign leadership, put that into sigs.yaml, who the leadership of the project is. So it could help you create some structure around it that you could then move if you decided to take it out of SIG ContribEx. If you decided that the scope was such that it needed to be somewhere else, it could help you just set up that process.
Okay, I'll bounce that through you then, and we'll talk about it.
I like it. Cool, let's do that. Any other questions about non-code contribution in Noah's project? Do you want to give us a little overview? We have 2 minutes left.
Well, long story short, no, wait, too late for that. We are looking at how to, for everyone who hasn't heard this yet, take all of the contributions that are being done in all the various SIGs, working groups, tags, projects, open source outside CNCF, all the things that involve things other than writing code, and how to identify them, make them actionable, and be able to publicize that so that we can get more contributors involved that are looking at potentially getting involved and saying, but I don't write code. That's the big thing. And we are working on that, on how current projects do it, how current projects should be doing it if they're not, what they're doing that they don't recognize, how they put recognition on there to try and attach to things like the contributor ladder, and give general advisory context to everybody across all of open source, because we love you all. Like I said, it's not a small project.
Yeah, so definitely scoped beyond what a sub-project of SIG ContribEx would normally be, but maybe there's an element of it that is a sub-project.
Maybe.
Maybe there's an element of it that needs to be at a higher level. We should have a
The,
meeting later and discuss.
the current action item on all of us, just so folks know, is for us to go to all of the individual SIGs and start identifying various tasks and roles within each SIG and who does what and who offloads things to other SIGs like this one. And that'll be forthcoming the next couple weeks.
Interesting. So I put that in the notes as understand work across SIGs to identify non-code work. Yeah, cool. And we are at time. So I'll leave it open for a second here. Any last minute questions before we end our recording and say goodbye to the folks on YouTube? All right. You can find us on Slack in the SIG ContribEx channel of the Kubernetes Slack. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to ask, and we'll meet again in 2 weeks. Thanks for joining today.